law, I didn't understand anything about it. Even buying, those special editions, which is like everything blockchain, you would understand everything once you read the whole article. Still, it was a black box for me. The moment I really, I would say, fell into it and started to dig deeper and say, okay, now it's time to understand it. It was actually the start of the corona. So when confinement came in March 20, and that's actually the time where I jumped in. I've done a lot of courses. I spent a lot of hours actually on certificate, doing my certificate. So it took a lot of hours, a lot of different certificates and different online courses to be able actually to understand it, because I found it actually difficult that some people explain it in a way, some others explain it in a different way, and most of them, they explain it in a complicated way. And that's actually how I came into understanding finally what it is and what it's for and what are the use cases. And that's actually how I now I like to explain it actually to my friends and families. Like, well, I can maybe try to explain it to you in an easier way, actually.
Super interesting. Thank you for sharing your journey.
For me, Chiara, same thing. I mean, I had to learn blockchain because I do that for work. So we apply blockchain to solve marketing problems. But same thing as Sana. At the very beginning, you jump into a cold pool and you say, man, what the hell is this? But your question is a $1 million question. So a stupid answer, very, very basic, what I understood of blockchain. So it's a decentralized network of computers. So, and of course, this is not accurate. So if there's somebody more intelligent than me on the call, for sure they will pick on my definition. But it's a decentralized network of computers that can really instantly verify and certify transactions without the babysitting of a central authority. So this last bit is important. There's no babysitting required anymore. I'm gonna quote a series that I love, Coins. If you take a look at any financial transaction, we go from 10 different stakeholders or institutions that need to babysit a process down to 2, 3, for example. So it's a huge, huge opportunity to simplify and kill complexity in any sort of transaction that we do. So I would say this is a fair definition of what blockchain is.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It simplifies a lot of things. In the heart, actually, of what Frank just mentioned is the disintermediation, basically. So I would just to give my perspective on it is I would step a little bit back and actually take the first blockchain that ever existed and actually is in use today, which is Bitcoin. Bitcoin, I'm sure everybody heard about Bitcoin. Bitcoin actually, when it started, it was the first peer-to-peer payment network. So, and based on cryptography. So basically, if you dig into Bitcoin, it is at the heart of the whole blockchain actually technology, because whoever this person who's Satoshi Nakamoto actually who came up with this technology, he mentioned actually to solve a riddle, a problem that nobody could solve for ages, which is actually enabling a peer-to-peer transaction. So meaning I can send you money, Chiara, I can send money to Frank without a need of a central authority, which means a bank. So I don't need a bank.
So that's the business that he was referring to. And so did then who was, the chicken and egg story? Who was born first? Was it cryptocurrency or was it blockchain? Or did they basically? So blockchain was created to enable cryptocurrency and Bitcoin.
So blockchain is the technology that enables actually the cryptocurrency. So so Bitcoin, actually there are two things in Bitcoin. There's the protocol Bitcoin, which is, protocol, you can also call it software, just for a matter of simplifying. So there's the software and there is actually the currency, which transfers via this software. And this software actually is an open source, meaning it's totally decentralized. So there are many computers on this planet actually running this software, and they are interconnecting. So that's why there is no, as Frank said, there's no need for a central authority, because all these decentralized computers are enabling actually the software to run, and they actually make it run. So it solved actually so Bitcoin, to answer your question, is the first currency based on the blockchain technology, which solved this riddle of making peer-to-peer transactions without the double spend. So without a third party, meaning, so we don't need to trust somebody actually in between to guarantee that I will pay you or you will pay me. So we don't need that because this software enables that transaction and it is totally decentralized. And I would just add one last point, which is very important. It's actually this cryptography, this Bitcoin new currency when it emerged. It actually enabled to solve one big problem, which nobody could solve before, which is the double spending. So meaning, why do we need banks today? I mean, just forget about cryptography, cryptocurrency, and everything. Just today, why do banks exist?
Good question.
Well, the banks exist because we all need somebody to trust to be able to transact, because we don't trust each other, because we don't know each other. So if I take something from you, so how do you make sure that I will pay you? So the fact that there's a bank in between us, that the bank actually guarantees you that you will be paid, and it guarantees me actually also that I will be paid for other transactions. But this new technology, it just solves this problem. So there's no need for a trusted authority because it is embedded in the cryptography, it is embedded in the software, that it doesn't allow a double spending. So if I have, for example, 100 francs, and I pay you, I send you 20 francs. I cannot spend that 20 francs 2 times. It's impossible. Mm. And that's actually at the heart of the whole blockchain. So first came Bitcoin. It solved actually this riddle of having actually doing transactions between peer-to-peer without having a need for a central authority and avoiding also this double spend. And so that's actually how it all started. And then came somebody else and said, oh, actually, this is amazing because we could build stuff on this. We could build a lot of things on this. So actually, the fact that they solved how to move value, because so far, I mean, till before Satoshi Nakamoto with Bitcoin actually came up with Bitcoin, internet was only for information. So you move information everywhere, I mean, across the globe, but you could not move value actually in a digital way. So you could pay, yeah, of course, but everything is linked to your bank account. So it's electronic, but it's not totally digital because the value doesn't exist actually on the network. So I think this is the way that I would explain it. This is actually the origin and the genesis of everything. And because because now you can move value on the internet without a trusted party, then actually innovation is limitless. So you could build a lot of things on top of that. And that's why then after that came Ethereum, so which I think a lot of people heard about. And Ethereum is actually a bit more powerful than the protocol of Bitcoin because it enabled a lot of developers to build things on it. So they can build applications on the top of Ethereum and be able to move actually value on these applications. Well, I would just take an analogy just to make it very simple and very tangible for people. So just think about Apple, so the products of Apple. So everybody knows Apple, I mean, with iPhones and all the laptops of Mac Pros and so. So they run on a different software. So it's iOS basically. So Apple has its own software, iOS, and yes. Then all the other PCs have different software. So now imagine that basically this software, because you can build applications, you can build apps on the phone. So on your iPhone, I'm sure you have 10,000 applications. So say if we make the analogy to the crypto, so to the blockchain, imagine that this iOS software is actually Ethereum and it's not in the hands of one company, which is Apple. So it's not centralized by one authority, which owns actually everything, but instead it's decentralized. So it's owned by many people who decided, you know what, we believe in this technology. So they actually put computers and then they connect each other. And then they make sure that actually this iOS software is running and then they secure it. So the fact that they are decentralized and they're sitting everywhere. So basically many people own this software. And then you can actually do a lot of things on it. So they can build applications on this. And then there's value that moves also. So they can, let's say it's called, maybe there's a coin which is called Apple coin, but it doesn't belong to Apple because now it belongs to all these people who are sitting everywhere and having computers running and connected to each other. And this is like, I would say, the simplest analogy of saying how this is Ethereum, how it works versus a software which we are aware of.
Like an operating system. It's like an operating system sitting somewhere on a cloud. Somebody must own the cloud or co-own. I mean, at the end of the day, there needs to be sitting it somewhere, but it's still an open operating system where everybody can go and tap and add its own piece.
It is, that's the thing. It's not sitting on a cloud. So it is sitting on many computers at the same time. So there are copies of that same software in all of these computers. So basically, if one computer fails, then the system still exists because you have hundreds of others or even thousands which are still existing. So basically, we move from having one central authority which has everything in one place to having so many which have actually copies of the same software. So this is the major difference actually when it comes to the blockchain.
Wow, but without occupying the space on the computer, basically, it's all right. You're carrying all this weight, but it's not exactly.
I think there are two things. What you refer to, Chiara, is so there are developers and people actually who secure the network, and that's their job. Actually, they choose to do that because they are developers, because there are companies actually who have software, they run software. So it is not everybody. It's not you and me who would actually go and do that. I mean, unless we decide to change jobs, right? But that's actually the developers and the people who secure the network, which have actually these powerful computers sitting somewhere and secure the network. But for us, like for example, if we decide to buy Bitcoin, then we would have actually a wallet which sits on our iPhone. And then it's much easier. So basically, it's a code. So I think we moved, the blockchain enabled the money to evolve, basically. So money has evolved throughout the years and the ages from being things actually which people can barter. So you could actually exchange things. You could it used to be big stones, right, that had value. Then it was gold. Then it was something else, and then now we have money, which is just actually paper money. It doesn't have a value behind it because it doesn't have an intrinsic value, right? Because it's not backed by gold. It's not backed by any commodity which has value. But we believe in it because the government has issued it and they say it has value. So, and that's the big actually change here. It's like now we are moving from believing that this has value because it has a network effect. Because a lot of people believe that it has value, then it will have a value, and then we will be actually evolving into having it as a medium of exchange. So I would use it to buy if you would take it from me, and then for example you're selling, let's say you're selling bags, for example, and if I give it to you, then you would give me the bag in exchange, right? Or I can use it actually to store value, saying, oh, maybe I don't know what will happen. Maybe there was another crisis coming up, and I just want to make sure that I still have actually my standard of living. So I might put my saving there. Or it's actually used also as a unit of exchange. So prices are tagged actually in dollars, or it could be also in Bitcoin. It could be in a different currency, right? So I think it's now the evolution is coming to a point where people start to see that actually money can have a different form from what we are used to, because it's difficult actually to get that. But I think we are starting to get there. It's like it can have value. It's not because it's a paper or if it's a code, meaning with alpha and with numbers and A, B, C, D, and it's not because it's different that it doesn't have value, right? So so it's a big shift in beliefs actually.
Really interesting, and I'd like to go back to cryptocurrency later on. Maybe Frank, what is the journey of Kiwi with blockchain? I mean, tell us a little bit about that piece.
Absolutely. What is interesting, exactly like Sana mentioned, so it's a new way of exchanging values between different stakeholders and actually in full freedom and efficiency. So what we do is we take blockchain and we apply it to marketing, the world of marketing. So how can you use blockchain to, let's say, moderate the dialogue between a brand and consumers? So basically, in the old days, all marketing programs are centralized. I am the brand manager. I am giving you value. You take what I decide. You know, in our old days, Chiara, we would do market research. We would find the average person. We would build a package for that average person. And if you deviate from that average person, that it's bad for you. I mean, I cannot do much more than that. In the future, brands will put value at the service of people. So basically, I do a purchase, I receive, for example, points, and I can use these points now as a consumer to really swap them and create value according to my individual needs. And it's impossible for a brand manager to know what person X or Y really wants, how they're going to use their points, their loyalty points for their individual life. Blockchain allows you to swap, for example, your points for miles or swap for personalized discounts. Or maybe you want, as a brand, to have alliances so you can really travel freely across the full ecosystem. So for the first time in history, we're just giving people empowerment to use the brand value according to their needs in total freedom. So it's the end of centralized brand programs. We create value, we put it in an ecosystem, and we let people, do whatever they want. So basically, we go from a centralized marketing program where there's one brand manager with a pretty desk in Zurich that decides what a consumer in Indonesia or in Dallas wants, to a world where consumers can use their brands to create value and to change tangibly their life. That's exactly what blockchain does. So Kibi creates ecosystems between brands and allows people to really use the loyalty points to their benefits, tangibly changing their life. So I would say something like this, a concrete example. So I may buy your brand, your pack of pasta, as I was in the pasta business, and then at the end of the year use that purchasing value to, for example, pay for my trip back home. Or I am another person and I would like just discounts, personalized discounts on the brands that I love. I am a different person and I would like to use that value to purchase NFTs for my personal enjoyment. So it's really, everybody's different and everybody will decide on their time what to do with the brand. And if we go back to textbook, it's really brands should be at the service of people. And that's exactly it. So basically, blockchain kills all the filters, all the centralized plans, and empowers people to do whatever they want with the brands that they love.
So basically, compared to maybe a program like you could have a catalog, right? You were giving a brand owner a catalog, and so your consumers, had still points, and like an Amazon card, you can go then on Amazon and spend it the way you want it. You're breaking that intermediary. You don't need the Amazon card, and you're just going to basically cut that piece in between.
It's exactly this. So I'll give a concrete example. In the old days, I think I was guilty of producing one of the most expensive loyalty programs on the planet. So for some reason, we decided that after X purchases of whatever, I'm not going to mention a pack, you would get a frying pan. And I had a full house full of frying pans because we thought the average consumer would like a frying pan. You don't want a frying pan, or you don't want a massage, maybe in Hamburg. Bad for you, because my research says that you like a frying pan. And this is it. This is the dialogue between brands and the consumers. So, but the question is like, is the system working? I mean, this system is not working at all. Loyalty is completely broken. I mean, if you're lucky, you get 2% of your fans that really like that damn frying pan that you bought for them like 6 months before. Knowing even, the cost of that, to deliver a frying pan to people, we would spend 50 euros to deliver to door, say, whatever, in Berlin or in Madrid. I mean, also from a sustainability point of view, huge mistake. What brands of the future will do is, okay, you bought me, you're one of my VIPs. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna give you brand points that actually not only can get you a frying pan, if you really like a frying pan, but can, you know, those points are actually liquid. You can transform them into something else. I'll give you one example, fishing from the brands that we service as Kiwi. Maybe you're a mother of kids, so you want to transform those points into dental care for your kids. You can. Or maybe you want to transform them into miles and travel home for Thanksgiving. You can. Maybe you're on a budget because you're a student and you want to transform those points into personalized discounts, really to make sure you get to the end of the month. You can. Or if you really love that brand, you can get private experiences and really deep dive, like NFTs, private events, PR, and whatever else, marketing Disneyland. Now you can. And you know what? You decide, because the system allows you to interact with the blockchain. Your identity and your history are verified, so you get automatically what you want without the kiss on the forehead of the brand manager. So this is loyal to the future.
So how are we explaining it to consumers? What is the barrier there of telling a consumer, you know, now you're going to be having points through blockchain technology and you can choose whatever you want?
No, it's exactly. I think that it's key for the communication. This we learned, I think, the hard way. Just also to show my cards in full. I think so. People don't want to know everything that goes on behind the scenes. You know, people don't want to know how the internet works. I mean, who cares? You know, people want to know what the internet does for me. Sending an email. I mean, when I was young, sending an email for the first time, and people could actually receive my letter at the other end of, I mean, it was amazing. So what we need to do from a communication point of view is tell them what the new loyalty will do for them. So for the first time in history, even if they buy a trombone or toilet paper, they can do much more with the points that the brands will give them. So, you know, in my old days, I would buy toilet paper. All I could do is just buy more toilet paper. How sexy, how fun is that? Will I brag with my family that finally I can buy more toilet paper? No. So what we need to communicate to people is now you can do whatever you want. The brand is at your service. Use me, the brand, to your advantage. This is the communication. And then they don't need to know NFTs, blockchain, and all of the jazz. So that needs to work perfectly behind the scenes.
Beautiful, beautiful. Love that. So I'd like to take a step back and share a bit of a behind the scenes. And I'd like both Sana and you, Frank, to share a story of your struggle with this technology. You know, what was the moment in which you felt like, oh my God, I'm such an imposter. I truly don't understand anything, but I need to pretend I am. And how am I going to overcome this, this hurdle? Sana, you might want to start.
Yeah, so as I mentioned at the start, I think it was the fact that you see more and more actually the topic coming on the news. So it is something that's now like almost on a daily basis, right, on the news. So you read about it, and I think the first thing you want to know is there something for me? Do I need to know actually what the blockchain is? Is it important because of my work? Is it maybe it's not important? Maybe it's something that I don't have to know about, right? And then actually when I started digging into it, because of curiosity, I think actually really the drive there was curiosity. I started seeing things and understanding things that actually it is a technology that is changing the world, actually, that will change the world, that it is already changing the world. And I think we hear a lot of stories about how stories basically about like the speculation around the cryptocurrencies and all that stuff. But the thing we don't really hear about, and which is actually really an amazing use case of the technology of the blockchain, is the fact that it enables people actually who are unbanked. So a lot of people don't have bank accounts it enables them actually to transact, to have actually currency on their phones, because the fact that the mobile phones have really reached almost every person on this planet, like nowadays, I think it's almost every person has a phone. Then the simple fact of having a phone and having a connection to the internet, these people can have a bank account on their mobile phone and manage their bank account on their own. So they don't need actually a bank, because the majority actually don't have access to banks because of many reasons, right? But this is actually what fascinated me in the technology, that it opened doors for lifting the level of standards of living of many people on the planet. So that's actually a use case which I find fascinating and amazing. Of course, it's also ties to what Frank said. It's the fact that you can move value with this technology. Then you give the power to the people, basically, whether they decide to choose actually which product they want to exchange against their loyalty program, like their loyalty points, or that they choose actually which currency and which wallet they have on their phone. That's actually it's really what's powerful here is given the possibility to the people to choose, but also opening doors to many people who are not actually fortunate enough to have a bank account. So it opens also the huge financial services, basically, to a lot of people who are unbanked on the planet.
For me, Chiara, also something personal. I mean, exactly like Sana. In corporate world, you want to look smart and intelligent. So at the very beginning of this journey, I would ask people, which academic white paper do you recommend or for me to read? And of course, I took a couple of documents in my hands. I couldn't understand anything, nothing. And especially, I'm not a teenager anymore, and nothing. I would stare at these pages and not understand anything. And so, of course, I start from who I am. I like to, in things, I like to understand the history. So I went back and actually, looked at the history of this guy, exactly like Sana mentioned, Satoshi, and why the hell did he create what he created. So the history and the context helps to understand why blockchain is so important. So, this revolutionary idea of sharing value between people without an institution taking their cut. And the other thing is, white papers, unfortunately, I don't understand them. So what I started to do is just watch videos, because we're all visual. And I started, getting hooked up in small videos, small bits, and the more I can, and I do it continuously. So am I understanding the full thing? Am I grasping a technology that changes every day? No. But by watching little bits, little videos, and understanding why and the context and the principle of this overall operation, that helps to really function inside this new world.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Sorry. One thing with regards to what Frank just said, I think it is such a wide and complex topic. Like you can start, of course, if you start from zero, you can move from 0 to 5 or 0 to 6 or 7. But there's always something new to learn every day, because the technology is still new and actually still evolving really at a pace which is so fast that things change actually all the time. So it is actually really you can never know everything. It's impossible. So I think, it's indeed, like, of course, I mean, when I started my journey, I moved maybe from 0 to 7 or 0 to 8, but there's a lot to learn still. And that's the thing about blockchain and cryptocurrency. I think nobody can really say that they know everything and they understand everything, because there's also another question is how much do you need to know, right? It's like, depending on where you come from and what the usage you want to make out of it, you don't need to know everything. So I think that's also something that I tell loads of people is you can start actually digging into it, understanding a little bit of it, And actually, I think you can also get your hand dirty in it. It's like, I think in the case of Frank, because he works in a company that uses the blockchain, right? So he has a concrete use case of it. But I think people who don't have a work which is related to the blockchain, I think they can actually get their interest in there via the cryptocurrencies. Because so cryptocurrencies, like if you hear about it and read about it, it's non-tangible. It's really something. It's like it's an idea, right? It's an idea. But when you start and when you're like, okay, so how do I get into this? Like, can I have a wallet? How do I get a wallet? And where do I buy actually the currency? And how much do I have to put in it? So I think it's like by doing really small steps and small journeys, then you get into the topic, and then you want to learn more. And every question actually brings something else. And then before you know it, actually, you know much more than when you started your journey. So I think there are different angles from tackling actually the topic, be it your job, be it just like getting your hands dirty on buying some cryptocurrencies. And there are different ways to get into the topic.
Fascinating. And so, Sana, tell us a little bit about your journey on helping, democratize these platforms, because I guess that's a little bit where you are, right? I love this idea of this is actually so powerful because it could enable people that can't afford a bank account to actually don't need a bank account and still have access to a lot of the services. And there's a lot of other, for sure, applications. So tell us a little bit exactly what you do.
So my journey actually, so I started because my background is different. I mean, my background is in analytics and loyalty marketing and the big data. So I worked for different sectors, from the financial services to the FMCG and travel industry. And the reason actually I kind of like the blockchain is because I'm fascinated with what the technology can do and what it's already doing. And my entry point actually to it was, I see a lot of people actually around me who struggled, actually had the same struggle as me in understanding what is it, what can I do with it, how do I understand it, and I think the part I want to help actually here people I know is explaining the topic in a different way. It's not in a complex way, but rather in a way to make it easier, to make it accessible. So that's actually part of what I want to accomplish is really helping people to understand what it is. So just like explaining it in a very simple way and answering the questions of people is like, I think that's also because I've struggled, that I understand where people come from, and I want to actually to make it easier, to make the journey of understanding the whole topic for people easier than what I went through.
And there's a lot of need for that. So thank you for doing this, because it's beautiful to know that somebody really takes the passion of going through their personal journey of how you understood it, and now it's time to share it with other people and help them understand these technologies. I love that. So if we look at user cases specific, right? So we talked a little bit about the loyalty programs. What other options are there? What opportunities are there? I don't know who wants to start.
Maybe I'll say from our side, Sana, and then feel free to add from a general. Of course, I come from the four walls of blockchain applied to marketing. So basically, I mean, there's a few buckets where blockchain applications are really, making a change in the world of marketing. One is track and trace, so the traceability. One example for example, Peroni beer, or if you are familiar with, Googling the jeweler. So they're applying blockchain to create efficiencies and also to, let's say, protect the authenticity of a value chain. Good. Second would be loyalty 2.0. We made an example. And then there's what we call augmented consumer engagement, which is, for example, the whole world of NFTs. One concrete example. On June 8th, we dropped a limited edition with a luxury brand. Good. It's a limited edition. It's something precious. Most often than not, you buy a box set, with this luxury object also as a gift, for someone you love. It's probably a legacy object that you want to protect, captures the love for a person that you really care about. So we put a small code into the box set that unlocks a digital twin, which is the proof of the authenticity of the object. So there's no more, if I can use a complex word, there's no more asymmetry of information. You're not going to buy a lemon, like to use the jargon of Stiglitz. You're buying the real thing. And that protects all the artisans that are behind this object. So the certification, so this is the digital twin that protects the authenticity of the object forever. Tomorrow you sell it on Amazon, on eBay, it is protected. It wasn't enough. So we put inside the object, inside the digital twin, the possibility to engrave digitally the watch. Normally it's a gift, so you can leave a message attached to that object to a loved one. And that message will be sent to the blockchain and remain eternal, because what luxury sells is eternity. There's nothing better than, saying I love you, and that I love you becomes eternal. This is a little bit of marketing, the romancing, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. So NFT is really a box that can capture value. So we put a piece of digital art, so really a masterpiece done by a designer digitally that was attached to the object. That was a cadeau for people to enjoy, a surprise and delight when they bought the object. So you can see that you can use technology to really enhance your marketing dialogue with people and increase the value that you're attaching to the object. The product is amazing, and it's really done by, expert hands and so forth. What you're doing is you're stepping up the storytelling that is attached to the object. Does it work? So basically with this luxury brand, just to give you concrete results. So today we went from 3% of engagement to 25%. The box set was sold within minutes, and the value of that object actually appreciates in time because it is protected. There's no more counterfeit. You cannot copy that because it's protected by the blockchain. So this is a concrete example of how in the world of luxury, you can really do your job even better and protect your fans who are actually owning the brand.
Really interesting. Sana, any other applications you can think of?
Yeah, I think it ties a little bit to what Frank just said. I think the fact that this technology enables the tokenization. So just to explain what tokenization means. So let's say, to take a concrete example. Nowadays, if you want to buy the shares on the market, you have to buy at least one. So you cannot buy 0.5 of an Amazon share. You have to buy 1, 2, or more. But with the blockchain, actually, there's the possibility to tokenize those shares. So meaning that it will be fractionable. So you could buy a fraction of an Amazon share, of an Apple share, of a Tesla share, and that's actually already in place. So this technology enables, actually, it lowers the barrier for investments for many things. So be it shares. So for example, if you say, oh, I have some money to put on the side, but I cannot buy an Amazon share which costs 3,000 euro, right? So it's just one share. So I just want 0.2, for example. Then you are able to do that. So the technology enables to do that. So that's actually something that I find fascinating, this tokenization. And then also that applies also to a lot of things which has value but are less liquid, for example, real estate. So you can tokenize a real estate, and then actually people can buy a lot of tokens from, for example, let's say there's a building, and then people can buy shares from that building. So it's in the forms of token. And then the fact that it's tokenized, it becomes more liquid. So if tomorrow I need the money actually that I've put in those tokens, then I can sell them instantly, and then I get the money. But if I buy actually the real estate, then it's not liquid. If I need to sell, and then I need to find somebody to buy actually that apartment or whatever. So I think that technology of tokenizing assets, it's very powerful, and it opened already a lot of doors, and it will open a lot of things. I could also imagine actually that somebody who doesn't have a bank account and sitting in Africa and just has a wallet basically, which is linked to with some cryptocurrencies, and that person can can buy a fraction of a share of Amazon. So basically, it enables people who didn't have access to the markets to get access to the market. So because they didn't have a bank account, they cannot participate in the economy. But now this technology enables them to do that. So, and I found that really powerful and fascinating. And then the second thing, which also I find really great, and I think it's still in the making, is digitalization actually of our IDs. So let's say today our information is scattered everywhere on the internet, right? So maybe when you have an account with some retailer, there's your credit card there, and there's your personal information there, your address, your phone, everything is there. And then if they get hacked, then all your information is gone, right? It's in the public, everybody has access to it. And that's, of course, it's multiple. So it's not with one retailer. You have that, multiply that but by every actual connection you have on the internet. And then, yeah, you're very vulnerable. But actually there will be, I think this is still in the making, there will be an ID, digital ID that you will have, and then you own your keys to it. It has everything in it, but when you do a transaction on the internet, you only give certain information. So you don't give everything, right? So it's up to you to control what information you want them to see, and they don't need to see everything. So that's really an amazing use case that I see there, because it will enable also us as people to monetize certain type of data. For example, like let's say now if I have my Garmin watch, right, and I do all my exercises, I run, I do sport and everything. And then my data is with Garmin. I mean, what do they do with my data, right? I mean, they exploit it, they use it, maybe they sell some insights of it, but if I have my digital ID and my data is in there, I have access to it and I can monetize it. I can sell it to Garmin, I can sell it to somebody else. So I think these are the use cases of the future. So I think the possibilities that it opens to everyone, be it in the developed countries or also least developed countries. So that's what I find actually democratizing a piece of it. It's simply fascinating. So once you start to see what the possibilities are, then yeah, you're basically hooked to it. It's like, this is amazing. This will transform humanity, right? So these are the use cases that I'm fascinated with.
And so if we're looking at an adoption curve, right?
Yeah.
What are we, 0.1%? Are we 2%? Where are we?
Well, I think it's difficult to measure it in percent, I would say, but let's say I think the fact that technology is evolving and the pace is getting much faster. We are still in early stage. We definitely are still in early stage, because the use cases which are now in practice with the blockchain are everything related to value. So like Kiwi actually moves loyalty value on the blockchain. You have also other companies who move value on the blockchain, but there are exchanges. So basically you have a lot of decentralized finance, what is called decentralized finance. So basically it's kind of banks, which are not like the banks that we know, but they are decentralized. So they move value actually in the blockchain. But I think we see it from our perspective. Here in Europe, we see actually a lot of speculation, a lot of people want to be part of it because they see that there's an opportunity in it. But actually the side that we don't see is that a lot of people in many countries are already actually adopting the cryptocurrencies. You see that in many countries, like for example, Vietnam, like Mexico, like there are many countries. So actually there's, I think, Chiara, maybe you want to share actually that slide you have about the adoption of cryptocurrencies.
Take it up. Let me share my screen.
So there's this so chain analysis. Actually, they analyze the data on the blockchain with regards to. Oh, sorry, that's this one, right? No, the other one. I think it's the last. This one. Perfect. This one. So chain analysis. They actually they built a model to actually measure, to be able to measure what is the adoption of the cryptocurrencies in the world, and then actually they focused on who are the ordinary people. So we're not talking here about speculators. We're not talking about investors. We're talking about purely people who actually use cryptocurrencies to actually send remittances. So basically, we are talking about amounts of $200, $100, and $200. So a lot of people actually, they live in a lot. You can see that most of these countries have a big proportion of immigrant population. Yes. So they use actually the cryptocurrencies to send money to their families because actually for them it's cheaper. It's much cheaper. So they save those fees versus if they would send actually actual money through, for example,
Western Union.
Yeah, Western Union, exactly. They pay a huge fee actually through those companies. But when they send cryptocurrency, the fee is really low, and then they keep actually the value. So because just say, for example, if somebody lives in the US and wants to send money to the family in India, let's take another example, to Venezuela. So the problem in certain countries is there's actually a lot of fluctuation of their currency, so they lose purchase power. And then people actually found that when they go through cryptocurrency, they are not losing that much of purchase power. So that's why that you see a lot of adoption actually in these countries. Most of them are in Asia and in Africa, like Vietnam, India, Pakistan, Thailand, and Philippines, and Afghanistan.
Yes, a lot of poorer countries with large populations. I think
absolutely, because people want they use it actually as a way to save actually their money, but also a way of transacting. So they send money to their families, or they even do transaction actually, business transaction. So somebody who's in Africa and selling actually vegetables and fruits, then they transact via their wallets by sending each other actually the cryptocurrency. So the adoption is very different between developed countries and least developed countries. Because I think what we're facing here is that in countries like in Europe, basically people don't have still the urgent need to move to cryptocurrency because they have a bank and they trust the bank and they say, well, why do I have to change? Why do I have to move, right? But others in other countries, people don't have the trust in the system. They don't have the economic stability actually of the country. So they use it as an alternative tool actually to really to save.
Right, there is a need in those countries where there is really a big need. Then there is an opportunity to explore it. And isn't it also the other way around that? I mean, a lot of lobbyists will actually maybe don't want these cryptocurrencies and this blockchain to ramp up too fast because they're going to become obsolete.
Absolutely. I think there was a lot of resistance from the financial services many years ago, or even a few years ago, I think. But now you can see that there's definitely a switch. They understood that because a lot of banks, they have actually their clients asking them for cryptocurrencies to invest in cryptocurrencies. So by the pressure from their clients, they are now offering the service to their clients. So they had to come to it from a different angle. But of course, they see that there is a threat. But I don't believe that actually that banks will disappear now. I mean, in 1 year or 2 years, I think they will change. The business model will definitely change. Yes. They will have to find another reason of raison d'être, right? It's if I take a parallel to it, would be like the mobile phone companies, right? Like Swisscom, for example. I mean, 10 years ago, if I would call France, then I would have to pay the communication, right? But now, I mean, why would I call? I mean, I would just use WhatsApp. I would use iPhone, right? I call with through the internet, so it cost me zero. So these companies, all the telecom companies, they lost actually a huge chunk of their revenues because the internet allowed that, right? So they had actually to change their business model and find other ways to make money. So that's why I really think that the financial services will go through a change and their business model will definitely adapt. But will they disappear? Maybe not. So I think nobody knows that today.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's going to take for sure a few more years than a couple of years, but definitely they will need to pivot and find new ways, new reasons to exist. Sana, can you just help me understand a little bit what's going on with this with the cryptocurrency and the fluctuation, the speculation? Because I'm a bit lost there. What's going on?
Well, I think one big part of it is that because the technology is still in its infancy, I would say. I mean, everything is still new, and also the volatility is because everything is digital. There's a lot of impact things which come from the internet, right? Because it's a lot of talks on the media. It's a lot of you need a Twitter. I mean, just a post of Twitter, and then it has an effect, right? Because everything is very digital. I think that volatility is also driven by several things, right? First is because it's new, it's a new technology, but also because a lot of people actually see opportunity. It's innovation drives uncertainty, and then the uncertainty drives opportunity. So a lot of people who are investors, they think, oh, this might be the big thing for the future. So I want to invest. I want to be part of it. I don't want to miss on it. And that, of course, they invest, they cash in on their, I don't know, maybe 1 week later when the value goes up, and then the market crashes, of course. So I think there's a lot of speculation, which makes the market unstable. But it's not the only thing, right? There are different things.
Yeah, because I mean, the point is that it shouldn't be just a share, right? I mean, are we adopting old models into something, not understanding exactly what we're doing? That we're dealing with it and trading it as if it was gold or.
Yeah, well, I think because it's a new thing that we need time actually to understand it. I think there is not enough historical data about it. Of course, the volatility is very high. I mean, if it's not for the faint-hearted, right? It's like the volatility can go like 20% up in one day, right? And the other thing is that this is a market which doesn't sleep. It's open 24/7. So basically, a stock market opens at 9, closes at 5, and on the weekends it's closed, and also the days where banking days. But this is a market that's absolutely open every day. So basically, you could lose sleep over it, right? but I think it's not something that, of course, that's why I mentioned to you, Chiara, before is if it's something that actually entices people, that if you're curious, you can always put a small amount of money. So like, okay, let's just say 20 francs, for example. You can just put 20 francs, buy something, right, and just experience it. Because that 20 francs, like you have to be able to afford to lose it. So just tell yourself, I can afford to lose that 20 francs and I would not lose sleep over it, right? But just by using those 20 francs, you would learn much more, actually. The fact that you will be actually reading about the value that you bought, right? So let's say Ethereum. So if you buy 20 francs on Ethereum, and then you would be interested. It's like, what's happening? Why is Ethereum up today? Why is it down today? What's happening? Is it going to die in 5 years? Is there another technology that will? So I think it's learning by doing, right? It's really learning by doing. You just get into it, and then I think at a certain point you understand that, of course, the technology is new, it's moving. But it has volatility, high volatility. But we will come to a point where things will stabilize. But we're definitely not there. But we will have to deal with it, right?
Yes.
And Chiara, going to the business, maybe the marketing side of it, I think we're at the beginning. We're just scratching the surface. But let's take one concrete example, Starbucks, which runs one of the best businesses in the world and loyalty programs in the world, uses blockchain to communicate, for example, their end-to-end care with which they do their coffee. So Starbucks already adopted blockchain. So if you have a business listening to this or a marketeer, I mean, we're at the beginning, so you're not late. So, and this technology, I mean, Starbucks, the whole business of luxury is on blockchain. So there's something changing in business land or marketing land. So I think at some point you need to have a point of view or have blockchain as one of the pieces of your future tech stack.
Fascinating. Yes, definitely. And so to wrap up, I'm conscious of time. If Frank, you can share another anecdote of a weird question that a client or customer asked, or, something that you really, think about it with a bit of a smile, what would that be?
No, for sure. I think what is interesting, coming from the experience of presenting to so many brands and going into market in in a very selected fashion, I think the understanding is there. So there's possibility to create efficiencies and really to empower fans to play with the brand is there. There's a lot of fear. So really people are, full of fears about a change that is coming into, their consolidated marketing and business operations. So what we normally recommend is what Sana said, go in market, test it, find the right guidelines to really observe a new technology. And I would recommend the same thing for other exponential technologies, AI, IoT, the metaverse, whatever. So take it in steps, see how it goes, set your KPIs, really, in full transparency, communicate internally these steps that you're going through. Does it work? Yes. So this brand that I mentioned earlier, the luxury brand, we started with a soft launch. And then we started with a portion of the portfolio. And then we scaled up in the course of 6 months. We went to 25% engagement rate. Other companies, we start with a minor brand, see how it goes, and then you start to roll it out. So the advantage of this is the blockchain exists. So you don't need to, huge CapEx or a huge shift in your infrastructure to test it. This is the beauty of this exponential technology. Try it. So break it down into pieces, set the KPIs that you really want to track, and then scale up as you feel appropriate. This is what we did. But the fun part is really the fear and the feeling of being lost in front of the change, which is the same that we all experience personally. So just a matter of killing the noise, killing the emotions, and really break it down into steps.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Sana, anything from your side?
Yeah, I think I agree with Frank. There's a lot of fear out there, and I think the media tends to over echo things which go wrong and things which are actually make people fear a little bit more things. But I think the reality is that it's of course it is complex. It could be complex, but as soon as you start actually scratching the surface and moving, like really moving slowly, doing baby steps, it's still time actually to hop in it, because it's definitely the technology of the future, and then I think the sooner the better people start to understand it, the better it is. So yeah, it's definitely, I think there's no need to fear it because you can understand it. So like, I think everybody can understand it. So it's just, dig into it, because otherwise I think, it's always the mountain looks really big and high to climb, but you can climb it. But just you take baby steps. So there, I think it applies definitely to the technology here.
I love that. Taking baby steps is definitely the right thing to do. So thank you. This was really, really inspiring. It was really enlightening. I understood much better, and I'm really actually looking forward to go and find out even more and look at the different applications. How can my listeners reach out to you if they want to to connect with you? Is it on a website or an email address? What would you prefer to be connected with?
Yeah, for me, it's via my LinkedIn profile. I mean, people can reach me on my LinkedIn. That's the easiest way.
Same thing for me, by LinkedIn or on kibi.com. I think there's all the information and the contact for companies or for brands, for business, but also for any other general questions regarding blockchain.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.